Welcome to The Explainer. You ever stop and think about what's actually happening when you send an email or stream a movie? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on the cloud models that make all of that digital magic possible. Just so you know, all the sources we used are linked down in the description, and this narration is a female voice. All right, let's jump in. So, let's start with a really fundamental question. You tap an icon on your phone, you log into a website, and stuff just happens. It just works. But where is all that software? Where does it actually live? Is it on your device? In some server farm? Who's running the show? The answer to that simple question unlocks this entire world of cloud computing. So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at where an app can even be deployed. Then we'll dive into these as-a-service models you hear about all the time, SaaS, IaaS, and PaaS. And finally, we'll break down who is actually responsible for what, which is kind of the most important part. All right, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the service types, we got to figure out where these things can even be set up. And really, it all boils down to one simple thing. Who needs to get access to this app? So you've got three main flavors. First is the public cloud. This is stuff anyone on the internet can get to. Then there's the private cloud, which is basically a company's own walled garden. It's for internal use, kept safe and sound, often in their own data center. And of course, there's the hybrid cloud, which is exactly what it sounds like, a mix of both, letting companies keep sensitive stuff private while using the power of the public cloud for everything else. Okay, so now we know where an app can live. Let's talk about how it's actually delivered to you. This is where we get into those as-a-service models. You can think of them as just different ways to package up and sell computing power. We're gonna start with the one you are, without a doubt, using every single day. Even if you don't call it this, you're using software as a service, or SaaS. The idea here is simple. Someone else builds the entire application. They manage the servers, they handle the updates, they store the data. All you have to do is open your web browser, log in, and start using it. It is, quite literally, software on demand. So the whole point is convenience, right? You're not installing anything on your machine, you're not worrying about patches or upgrades, and you're definitely not doing any of the development work. It's all managed for you by the provider. It's a complete, out-of-the-box solution. And the most perfect example is something like Gmail or Office 365. You don't think about the mail servers or the software code. You just log in and it's ready to go. That's SaaS in a nutshell. Okay, let's do a complete 180 and jump to the other end of the spectrum. This is for the folks who want total control, the people who like to build things from the ground up. Let's talk about infrastructure as a service, or IaaS. With IaaS, you're essentially renting the raw computing parts, the servers, the storage, the networking. It's like renting a plot of land. The provider gives you the space, but it's up to you to build the house. That's why some people even call it hardware as a service. This means you're in charge of pretty much everything from the operating system on up. You install the software, you manage your data, you handle the upgrades. The big payoff for all that extra work? You get complete and total control over your setup and your security, even though it's all still living in the cloud. A classic example here is just a standard web hosting company. You rent some server space, and then it's all you. You have to build your website or your app from scratch and get it up and running for the world to see. Okay, so we've got SaaS, where it's all done for you, and IaaS, where you do almost everything yourself. You might be wondering, isn't there something in between? And yes, there is. That's our middle ground, platform as a service, or PaaS. The best way to think about PaaS is like a fully equipped workshop. The provider gives you the workbench, all the power tools, all the materials, and you get to walk in and just start building your custom project. You don't have to worry about building the workshop itself. So with PaaS, your job is to focus on developing your application. The provider handles all the messy, complicated stuff underneath, the hardware, the operating system, all that. You get to use their pre-made building blocks to create something unique. It really is the perfect compromise for a lot of developers. A great example of this is a company like Salesforce.com. They provide the platform, the database, the tools, and then other companies can build their own custom business applications right on top of it. It's a very powerful model. So we've walked through the three main models, but I know the lines can still feel a little fuzzy. So let's make this super clear with a handy little chart that shows exactly who is responsible for what. Honestly, this is the single most important question you can ask when you're thinking about cloud services. The answer to this question defines your cost, your level of control, and how fast you can get things done. And this table right here, this lays it all out beautifully. Look at the far left, on-prem.
That's the old way of doing things, where you, the customer, are responsible for everything: the physical building, the servers, the data, all of it. Now watch as we move to the right. With IaaS, the provider takes over the bottom layers, the physical stuff. With PaaS, they take on even more, managing the whole platform. And then with SaaS, all the way on the right, the provider handles almost the entire stack. Your job is basically just to manage your data and your users. It's a clear shift of responsibility.
So if you're going to remember anything, remember this. SaaS is all about convenience. IaaS is all about control, and PaaS is that happy middle ground of customization. The right model for you completely depends on what you need to do and how much of the work you want to do yourself.
So take a second and think about it. That email you just checked? Total SaaS. That personal blog you're hosting somewhere? Probably IaaS. And that custom tool your company uses every day? Good chance it's built on a PaaS. You see, the cloud isn't just some vague concept out there. It's the invisible framework for almost everything we do online.